Hello everybody and welcome to History Bite number 57, dated September 29th, 2020. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled, Congress Decides the Number of U.S. Supreme Court Justices. Lots of Americans mistakenly believe that the Constitution, somewhere along the lines, establishes a U.S. Supreme Court with 9 members, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. As a matter of fact, the Constitution, via Article 3, Section 1, vests Congress with the total and absolute authority to decide the number of U.S. Supreme Court justices. Specifically, Article 3, Section 1 reads that the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Okay, so Article 3, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution gives the Congress the power to create the U.S. Supreme Court as an institution, decide how many justices it will have, as well as create the federal court system below the U.S. Supreme Court. And of course, we know that today to be the U.S. Courts of Appeals, the U.S. District Courts, and a litany of other special federal courts. We'll save those for another History Bite, okay? So with all that said, you may be surprised to know that the U.S. Supreme Court has not always had 9 members. Under the Judiciary Act of 1789, which was passed by the first Congress of the United States, that act created the U.S. Supreme Court as an institution, first of all, and it also created a court of 6 justices, not 9, but 6, 1 chief and 5 associates, okay? And that number fluctuated quite a bit throughout the 19th century, before finally settling at the magic number of 9 with the Judiciary Act of 1869. It was at that point that we reached the number of 9, and the number has remained constant to this very day, unchanged since that time. From 1869 forward, there was only one major attempt to alter the number of Supreme Court justices, and that came in the 1930s under the administration of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, number 32. As Mr. Roosevelt was obviously most distressed and discontented that the U.S. Supreme Court had been consistently striking down his New Deal legislation that had been passed by the Congress, he proposed a plan to enlarge the number of U.S. Supreme Court justices from 9 to nearly 16. Specifically, the court packing plan would have permitted Mr. Roosevelt to appoint 1 justice for every single member of the court at that time who had reached the age of 70 and had not yet retired. Based on the mathematics of that day, that would have permitted the president to appoint as many as 6 additional justices. Okay? So, needless to say, that would have certainly tipped the balance of the court in his favor, as the justices that he would have appointed would obviously have been to his ideological liking, thus very likely to sustain the New Deal legislation passed by the Congress. Now, don't sleep on this, folks, as this Judiciary Bill of 1937 almost came to pass, but situations and circumstances ultimately led to its defeat. And it was somewhat of an embarrassing moment for the president, but thankfully it sort of just faded away almost as quickly as it had been brought about, thankfully. Okay, it did not seriously damage Mr. Roosevelt's reputation. That's a good thing for the country. But since that time, there has been no serious attempt to alter the number of U.S. Supreme Court justices from 9, okay? Politicians and other academics and legal scholars have often suggested increasing the size of the court, but of course none of this has gone anywhere, and none of it should, as the number of 9 is enough, okay? The workload of the court has been reduced, and the overall dynamics of the court work perfectly with a 9-member body. Okay, so that does not need to be altered in any way, shape, or form. All right, but you might also be surprised at this one last thing, that with respect to President Trump nominating a replacement for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Senate Democrats have suggested the idea of enlarging the court, assuming that Justice Ginsburg's proposed successor is confirmed. Okay, now, this, like virtually all the others in the past, is not likely to go anywhere, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. All right? And I just want to conclude this by saying that the Congress, at any time they deem it necessary and proper, may alter the number of U.S. Supreme Court justices by simple legislation, okay? Another bill like any other, all right? If they wish to increase the size of the court, they may do so. If they wish to decrease the size of the court, they may do so. Both of these have been done in history, folks, so there are precedents to guide the Congress if it were to do that in the modern era, okay? The power to change the number of U.S. Supreme Court justices lies exclusively with the Congress via Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution. So I thank you very much for listening to this History Bite. If you have any questions or controversies, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. I hope you learned a thing or two from this. Take care. Stay safe out there. And I'll talk to you at the next one. Peace.